I'm waiting for the encoder to come up. I'm looking at us. Everybody smile. Okay, Michael, let's do this. Here we go. And you're all going to dance with me. Jim, behave yourself.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me, RadioRed in the house. I saw some juggling going on there, Mr. Finnigan. We're going to have to explain that every week. I have creatives, wonderful people. I met these three very, very smart, savvy creatives at the recent National Publicity Summit. I've been invited back for October, and I just want everybody to know I have already booked 98 participants from the summit for my shows this year. And we've got another summit coming up the 22nd of October, and I'll probably book another 30 or 40. So that's where I get 99% of my guests. But here we talk about creativity. This is not a hot seat interview. I'm not asking them political questions and lifestyle questions, and we're not getting into deep dive. We just want to share ideas and inspire you. I'm calling this episode The Juggling of Creativity, and you're going to find out why in a couple of minutes. But before we start, I have a poem to read. I'm going to honor my three guests. But before we start, I want you all to put up your fingers in the shape of the letter L for me, please. The shape of the letter L. There we go. And on the count of three, you're going to join me in saying hello, L, L, L. Just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L. Oh, no, you're rushing it. We got to start it again. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L. Okay, Michael, you can log them in as the best follow-along echo for RadioRed. Usually we do it all at the same time. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Leggs, our most loyal listener. She lives in Whitestone, New York. I've been trying for years to get her to move to some place that starts with L. So Asher, I tried to get her to move to London, but it was too hot and too expensive. Dave, I started to get her to go to Louisville, and she didn't want to. Jim, I found someplace else, I don't know, that had an L, and we couldn't get her there. So I was looking to move. I was in New York then. I was all over the country. Moved to Durham, North Carolina. I was ready to make another move. I wanted to go to London. I have this bad habit. When I look at a map or read anything, I tilt my head. I tilted it so far that the N in London, the first one, turned into a U, and I ended up in Loudon, Tennessee. So I said to Laura, hey, Dave, are you with me here? Dave, there you are. I said to Laura, I'm in a place that starts with L. I'm still waiting. It's been 2 years. Today is 2 years I moved here. She hasn't moved here yet, but we're trying. Laura has been listening to the show for years, and I'm warning the three of you that at 6:01 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, I will check my email right after we're off the air, and there will be a report on what you said, a little summary. I know, Asher, it's unbelievable. Talk about joy. We're going to talk about joy with you. She will tell me what she gleaned from each of you. She'll take a little bit from the bios I sent, but she will glean what your subjects were and how much she enjoyed it. She calls me beautiful, gorgeous lady of red, and I like that a lot. So hello to LLL. There we go. I have a poem for all of you, and I'm going to read it. And when I call your name, I want you to wave so everybody can double check that they know who you are, even though they're watching you. Okay, so here we go. Welcome to Read My Lips, where creativity takes flight. Cool conversations with creatives, a round table of delight. With me, host RadioRed, aka whose words, just flow on her Scarlett mic in the live streaming glow. I'm glowing. On The Juggling of Creativity today, we will reveal how three unique creatives work, think, and speak for real. Here we go. Dave Finnigan, wave hello, juggles dreams and hopes in his stride. He's taught 1 million students to toss with joy and pride. His Climate Change is Elementary program aims to teach, and his greenactioneers.com puts sustainability in reach. From family planning to the climate scene, Dave Finnigan strives to keep our earth pristine. Dave, what'd you think? Whoa, he liked it. I rent these poems out, and I have a group rate for the three of you if Asher and Jim like theirs. And the sun is coming in. I've done everything I could to get it off of me, and I'm going to change tones here. Okay, now, Dr. Asher Beckwitt brings light where joy takes root, inspiring hearts in healing's pursuit. Through joy parties with a capital J, born of the pandemic's test, connection and happiness at their very best. Anthropology PhD and energetics coaching entwined, Asher guides ballads for our peace of mind. Like it? Oh, I got another thumbs up. We're doing well here. Okay, it's up to you, Jim. James B. Jim Flaherty lives life full of cheer at 89. What? He plans a decade more years. We're rooting for you. A madman ad man once, now writing so wise. He advocates aging with a sparkle in our eyes. With novels, TV, and choirs all in his lore, Jim clearly loves life to its very core. I hope you like that. For an ad man, I was, what can I say, Jim? So gather round, lend us your ear and your eye and your ear as we dive into creativity with visions clear. akaRadioRed's roundtable is set today. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. So what'd you all think? How'd I do?
That's great.
You should write
We're
lyrics. You're a good lyric writer.
Now I have to tell you, full disclosure, where that came from. I do several shows a week, and I have typically 7 or 8 guests a week. And you all fill out the form with your bio, and the bios run about 300 words apiece. I use ChatGPT. She is my virtual assistant, full disclosure, full transparency. And I say, here's my opening. I've already wrote in my closing. Here are the bios of my guests. Please write me a 4 or 6 line verse about my guests with the core of who they are and what they do. How many seconds or minutes? How many minutes do you think it takes if I put it all in one huge document and hit the submit button? Okay, anybody want to go for minutes? How many minutes? Dave says 0. 1 minute. Jim says, Asher, how many minutes do you think?
I'm going to say 30 seconds.
Okay, we're going for seconds. We got 30. Jim, how many? Are you going to go for seconds now, Jim? What do you think?
I would say 45 seconds.
45 seconds. Dave, how many?
5 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to beat you all. It's about 1.75 seconds before the core poem comes back to me. I mean, completely on the screen. I copy it and put it into my document. Boy, are we moving. We were raining here, and now I can't even see myself. Hello, I'm here. Anyway, and then I edit it. I go back to your bios, and I change. I say, I want this a little different. I want that a little different. I change some of the rhymes on yours, Asher. I put in some more for you. Dave, I put in some different things for you. Jim, I did the same. So it's a combination of AI and human. So how did me and my super assistant do? We did pretty well, huh?
Oh, yeah. Wonderful.
Good.
2 thumbs up.
I'm glad. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we want to find out more about each of you since we had just a little snippet. I'm glad you enjoyed the poems. And this is part of my joy. I do this for my business technology show as well. And my guests are, what? Seriously? That was good. Okay, they're shocked too. Okay, so let's go around the table. The speaking order is what I said in the poem, Dave, and then Asher, and then Jim. So I'm going to put you on speaker view, Dave, and we would like you to take 3 minutes and condense your entire life and everything you've ever done creatively into that. Just give me the overview and what do you think about creativity? Dave Finnigan, so happy to have you here. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm very happy to be creative because that's all I do. I did a program for 2,000 elementary schools called Juggling for Success. And I traveled in a big motorhome with my family, towing a stretch van full of juggling equipment behind us. And we went to 46 states, 2,000 schools. We spent the entire day. And then in the evening, we had family night. And the parents came in, and the kids and the parents learned to juggle together. So that we taught over 1 million people how to juggle. It was a 25-year project. And by the time I was finished, I was ready to do something more important. So I started another program, and this one was not called Juggling for Success. It was called Climate Change is Elementary. And I started going around to schools and doing exactly the same flow of the day. We'd start with a teachers meeting in the morning. We'd see the kids a grade level at a time. Then in the evening, the parents would come in and the kids would convince the parents that climate change is real and we should act on it. Well, I did that in Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Colorado. And it was exciting and everybody loved it, but I live in Florida. So I had to go home. So when I got to Florida, I discovered that I couldn't do a program in any school in Florida, private or public, that had climate change in the title, because somebody at the school, some parent, would get irritated and march into the principal and poke him in the chest and say, "What are you doing teaching my kid this stuff? This is a Chinese hoax." So,
No politics. We'll stay away from that, but
oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
no, it's not
Yep.
political. We've
Yep.
taken the politics out of it entirely, because
Completely.
now we do a program called Green Actioneers. And Green Actioneers doesn't mention climate change, global warming, sea level rise. It's all about going green. All the things that kids and parents and neighbors can do to have a clean, green future. And we end up by learning about what the Native Americans did, because the Native Americans lived in balance. And so finally, we meet a Native American family, and we find out if we had just paid attention 500 years ago, we wouldn't have the problem we have today. So that's the Green Actioneers program. And what we need now is to find our first schools. So if anybody listening, watching is interested in being one of the first schools to implement the Green Actioneers program, hey, get in touch.
I have a question for you, Dave. Don't be offended, but what do you have for breakfast?
Oh, I am like this all the time. I can't help it. I'm just too enthusiastic, and sometimes I get in trouble for being too enthusiastic.
Well, you're not going to get in trouble here. That was really
That's
impressive.
wonderful.
Thank you very much. I want to take juggling lessons. I just have juggled schedules and family and all kinds of my creativity in my life, but never anything that went up in the air like
Well,
that.
that's why I slowed juggling down. We use nylon scarves, so
Thank
everything
you.
happens in slow motion, and then everybody can do it. And when I would do a school program, even Miss Grundy, you know her, she's that teacher who doesn't like to do anything. She
Yes.
would get excited, and all the kindergartners could do it, all the first graders, all the way up. And the only place I ever met resistance was high school seniors who were going like, "Oh, this is too trivial for me." But everybody else loved it.
Thank you very much, Dave. That was lovely. Asher, you're up next. I'm so happy to have you here. Met you at the summit as well. Asher, I'm putting you on speaker view. Why don't you regale us with your story? And I want to know what the joy parties are. Go ahead, Asher.
Great. Thank you so much for having me today. Really such an honor to be here. So what I do, I was inspired by COVID because people were kind of down and things, and my friend inspired me to create some joy parties so that we could experience the feeling of joy and we could all come together in community and really celebrate that together. So this really helps participants to like have positive, develop positivity and have positive outcomes and feel really good about what they're doing. So some of the things that we would do within these joy parties is to do some journaling. And so that allowed people to experience joy by, exploring their inner worlds and really writing and drawing, or they could do collages or self-reflection or just whatever they kind of needed to express that authentic self and express whatever that joy is within there, right? So we focused so much during that time on the sadness. So this gave them a really great outlet to really focus on that joy and what was bringing them joy in their day-to-day lives. And then another thing was the sound baths. I don't know if people are familiar with this, but there are these crystal balls and gongs and things, and they create this beautiful kind of music and essence. And it's almost like it's just kind of it brings you back to your core, and it really just resonates with who you are and helps you to just really connect with who you are and connect with that inner self. And so through that, we were able to just release all of this and come together within this lovely joy and the feelings of community and just being together and experiencing that together. And so that was really great too. And then one of my favorite activities of all is creating joy jars. And this is encouraging individuals to fill jars with things like positive notes, positive affirmations, things like that. And then what we would do is we'd go around and we'd have like one person pick out, an expression and then read it and share that with someone else. And we could do this via Zoom, and it was fabulous. It just uplifted everyone, made everyone feel really good.
I love that. What I want to know is you have a degree, a PhD in anthropology. How
Yes.
did that help you with what you were doing during to bring joy in these joy jars and the sharing of the journaling? And uh, Asher, just tell me a little more. What do you do with your degree, or why did you want a degree in anthropology?
Yeah, so I actually really sought to understand culture and understand how we, transmit some of our emotions and how we feel within cultures and what makes us feel different ways. And that's a lot of what anthropologists focus on. And so being able to then understand like the the releases behind and what are those pieces, the cultural aspects behind that. And so there's a lot of art within that and a lot of expression within that. And then being able to take all of that and really cultivate it into these exercises was great.
Thank you very much. That's very, very interesting. I love the word joy. Why not? We have so many other words we could use. It's simple, it's there, everybody knows what it means, and it just evokes a smile or a good feeling in your heart, right, Asher? A good feeling.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's 3 letters.
Jim, Jim, you're up next. We want to hear from you. Jim says
Hey,
he says he's 89 going on 59. I don't believe it. I told him we're not talking age on this show. Jim,
actually,
go ahead.
actually
Go ahead.
49.
There you go, dear.
I'm-
Okay, go ahead. I knew it was a
I-
typo.
Life changes with age, but I've been able to go back to what I started out as when I started working out of college, when I came to New York and I got a job as a below junior copywriter. I took home $200 a month after taxes, and I was living in New York with no allowance from home. So I know what living in total poverty is, and it was fine. And 6 years later, no, I take that back. By the time I was 33, I was in a corner office as a working madman in New York. To me, life has always been, which it is for most people when they're starting out, you have obligations. You have you're playing a role. A young, you're a college student, and then you're a young married person with a mate, and God, then you're a young parent. Holy Christ. And then you're trying to climb that invisible ladder to whatever the hell that is. And it's fine. And I found a quote from, of all people, Noel Coward, that
Mm-hmm.
English wit and wag years ago. And I still embrace it because I like it and I think it's true. Work is more fun than fun. And,
Interesting.
and I think that's true. And over the years, I did all right for myself, both as a creative director and then as a madman. I left that mountain, jumped off that mountain, and started a business I knew nothing about. Created a country and conference center, which was an iffy business in the boonies. And everybody said, "You are totally nuts, Jim. It's called crap shooting with your life," which I'd already done. I'd moved my family once 5,400 miles to Buenos Aires, Argentina, when the children were 9 and 11. As they say now, my babies are now 62 and 64. And they say, "You never bored us," which I think is the best compliment I could possibly have as a parent. But it was all wonderful. I loved it. I worked 70 hours a week to make that country inn come to life. And it did come to life. And when it came down to having fun, there I was with a villa in Acapulco for 25 years. And friends would say, "We know you, Flaherty. You could float around the pool all day with a margarita." And I said, "But you really do know me, and you know that I can only do that for about 15 minutes." And then I say, "Okay, that's enough of that crap. Let's all get up and do something. Let's produce something. Let's create something." So now I suddenly found, after I went through 3.5 years of being a caregiver with dementia, which does things for your head, and you have to really analyze yourself of saying, who am I, and do I exist, and am I going to get through this, and what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And suddenly I found myself free of dementia caregiving and everything at age 85, or before that. I take that back. I wrote 2 books during my 80s, earlier 80s, on aging, cheerfully and productively because I saw so many people retreating from life, and it made me crazy. People who were sticks of dynamite in their 40s, 50s, and 60s suddenly said, I have nothing to say. And I thought, that's such BS. You know, if you were funny at 50, you're still funny at 75. You know, you still have something to say and something to do, and you should, instead of embracing loneliness, embrace connections, because it's what will make you live longer and happier. By the way, Dave, I grew up in South Florida before air conditioning. You know, there were dinosaurs in the roads. It was an old time. We had the first TV on the block. I was 15 years old before I saw television.
We're getting life lessons for Asher here.
I know, but you know, it was terrific. It was terrific. Could we survive? We thrived. Are you kidding? I had a wonderful life growing up in South Florida. I didn't see snow till I was 20. Now I live in New York State. It doesn't matter, but I've taken care of that too. In my home, which is a 1940 dairy barn that I converted, I have an interior pool so that every morning there's exercise, 30 minutes of serious exercise in the pool.
Oh my God.
You know, I think that's part of staying alive, taking care of yourself, all that good stuff that we all have to do.
Jim, I'm looking at the titles. We need to move on, but I'm looking at a title, and there's one that's intriguing me. I think everybody's seeing it. It's Claire, Clare, wife, mother, mistress, murderer, question mark.
Yeah,
Just give us a 2-sentence overview. When did you write this?
These are my first two books. The first was Role of a Lifetime, about a woman who reinvents herself. And the second was about a woman who has it all and then has a complicated life. They're pure fiction, romance, sex, Broadway, international travel. Funny, and the cover of Claire is a painting of my younger daughter when she was in college. She said, she saw it when I sent her the book. She said, well, I've never murdered anyone. But she admitted to all the other parts of it. So,
well, thank you very much. Fascinating. We're going to learn more about your creativity. I want to move on, and I want to go to the part of the show where I've asked each of you for a fictional quote from a movie or a TV character or a song lyric. I will read the quote with a little bit of background, and I love doing research on these. I have a collection of about 100 quotes from movies and songs from guests on all of my shows. I have my favorites. Somebody says, I never watch TV. I never go to the movies. I don't listen to music. I say, I'll send you 50 samples. Pick one, okay? So here we go. Dave Finnigan, you're up first, and Dave picked a wonderful, wonderful lyric. Well, it was actually quite controversial. Imagine, the song by John Lennon from his 1971 album Imagine. Interestingly enough, belatedly, they gave Yoko Ono credit as a co-writer. She wasn't credited right away. Lennon and Ono co-produced it with Phil Spector, famous music producer. Writing began recording at Lennon's home studio in London in 1971, overdubs in New York, and Lennon released a single in the US where it hit number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it went to number 6 in the UK when it was released there. Imagine, the song, I'll read the lyric in a second, has been praised but sparked controversy because he says in no religion, we know that. More than 200 artists have performed or covered it. Madonna, Stevie Wonder, Joan Baez, anybody remember her? Lady Gaga, Elton John, Diana Ross. It was featured in the 2012 Summer Olympics, and it came back, and it was in the opening ceremonies of the 2022 Winter Olympics, and it's still controversial because he said no religion too, and that's not a topic for our show. Here is the quote Davis picked. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Dave, tell us what this has to do with creativity for you. Go ahead.
Well, sure. Well, I think Asher and I have something in common. I'm an anthropologist, and I studied anthropology at Cornell University. And in the Cornell Student Union, there's a big inscription on the wall that says "Nihil humani a me non interessante," or something like that, from Terence. And it means nothing human is beyond my interest. And I read that and I went, wow, that's me. So I'm going to be an anthropologist. And so my job has been culture change. And I changed a lot of cultures, because the first thing I did, I worked for 10 years in East Asia, Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, as a consultant with their national family planning programs. And I helped them to take their average family size from 6 kids to 1.6 in a generation. And the way we did that was not trickle down, it doesn't seem to work at all, but bubble up. And so then when I went around to teach juggling, I didn't start at the top and work my way down. I started at the bottom and worked my way up. I started with the kids and got the kids excited. Once the kids are excited, then they drag the parents kicking and screaming to family night, and the family gets excited. And the same thing's true with Green Actioneers. We start with kids because the kids are going to inherit the planet. So we might as well give them the straight skinny on the planet.
There you go.
Then they bring their parents to family night, and then the parents leave going, wow, I didn't know all this. This is really cool. We can save money, we can save energy, we can go green, and we don't have to talk about the downside. We don't have to talk about how bad it's going to be when everything goes wrong. We can talk about how great it's going to be when everything goes right. So that's my pitch, and that's what I do now.
Thank you. Well, I want to seize for a moment on the word imagine, because I've had guests try to define what creativity is over the years I've been doing this show. And I had a woman a couple of years ago who said, being creative is being courageous creativity. And I had somebody else who said, curiosity is creative, curious creativity. And so we're going to add imagination, right? Is curiosity, is courage, is creativity. You have to imagine something different, whether it's a program like what Dave does, whether it's a career. By the way, those of you who don't know what Mad Men is, it was Madison Avenue, MAD for Madison in New York, Mad Men. And there was a whole TV series with John Hamm that was unbelievable and that ended a couple of years ago. So that's why Jim said he was. And the imagination, Asher, what are we going to do to keep people happy during the pandemic? We're going to have joy jars and joy parties. So that's what, Dave, that was a lovely quote. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know what's in his joy jar, but I never ask. I never ask guests what's in their joy jar. There we go. We'll leave that one alone. Asher, I tell you what I'm going to do, because these are so interesting. I'm keeping all of you on screen view on the gallery. So I'm not going to individuals. So you're all going to look straight ahead, and I'm going to do reactions of what you're saying to each other. So Asher, Dr. Asher Beckwitt, has picked a wonderful quote, favorite quote from Pete Maverick Mitchell, played by who else? Tom Cruise. What else? Top Gun. When else? 1986 action drama. Wonderful, wonderful movie. Let's see. It was actually from an article called Top Guns, written by Ehud Yonah, published in California Magazine 3 years before this. Tom Cruise stars as Maverick, a young naval aviator aboard the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise. Sounds like, like the Enterprise. He and his radar intercept officer, junior grade Nick Goose Bradshaw, played by Anthony Edwards, who I remember from the show ER on TV, was one of the doctors, are given the chance to train at the U.S. Navy's fighter weapons school, which is called Top Gun, in San Diego, and all kinds of other people were in the movie. And here's the quote. This is an iconic one. I feel the need for speed. Okay, Asher, I'm keeping everybody on screenshot so we can all react. What does this have to do with your curiosity, with your creativity? Go ahead, Asher.
This has been a motivator for me ever since I was a child, honestly. I love Top Gun. I watch Top Gun almost every single day, and I would watch it, and then I would be like, all right, now I'm going to go conquer the world, and I'm going to go do this. And so it was always something really motivating for me, and it always motivated me to create and to do whatever it was that I was going to be able to do. So with getting my PhD, I was like, all right, I can do this. It just felt really bold, like a very bold, motivating statement to me. And so I was able to embrace that and then carry it with me through to whatever I do.
I love that. Thank you. Very, very interesting. And no surprise that Jim has picked a quote from Mad Men. And this quote, this is also iconic. This needs to be printed on the side of a wall with permission, or crocheted on a pillow, but it's kind of long, Jim, so I'll let you do that. Don Draper, played by John Hamm, one of my favorite actors. even though he's done some pretty corny commercials recently, speaking about Mad Men. American period drama TV series on AMC Cable Network from 2007 to 2015, 7 seasons, 92 episodes, set in the 1960s through November 1970. Let's see. When the show, Jim says, I have a quote here from Jim, in addition to the quote. When the show was playing, everybody said, "Oh, Jim, it's you." I was a madman, corner office writer, creative director, and I said, "Yes, it's accurate, except for one major thing. No one ever got drunk or in my office. I won't use that word. I understand sanctity of place, no lessons on how to make a perfect Negroni at an AA meeting, no jokes in behind the pulpit, no sex in the Oval Office." We'll leave that one out. So here's the quote. I got to rescue myself here, Jim Flaherty. How dare you? I've had some language on this show, but I can't do the one you put in there. It starts with B, or we'll leave it alone. Okay. And the quote is, if you don't like what's being said, change the conversation. Wow, that's a heavy one. And everybody who saw the show remembered the final episode. They were on a hill and they sang the Coca-Cola. I like to teach the world to sing. I try not to sing on the show, Dave. It just ruins everything. Jim, go ahead. Explain how you picked this quote. And then we're going to go to our creativity statements. And Dave, you'll be up next. Jim, you're on. Go.
Okay. I think that's true about everything. Especially in this world, it seems we know, because we're not going to talk about politics, please God. But you can't say anything without somebody saying, so since everything is off limits, it seems, anymore, you try to change the conversation, try to get the focus on something that is more meaningful. I love what both of you are doing. I love the joy jar. Thank you, Asher, for that. And I love that you've done everything you've done, Dave. They're all worthwhile things, which is great. I sometimes feel maybe I've not been that worthwhile, but then I think perhaps I have by helping elderly people come back to life. At least I'm trying to have that influence on them. But I like that idea that if it's ugly, what you're seeing, try to get it someplace that it's going to be positive, that people are going to see a light, that they're going to learn something, not think negative. I'm very much a great believer in positive thinking and everything you do.
Bless you. I like that. I like the statement a lot, and it can be interpreted so many different ways. But let's say you're in a job you don't like and you see an opportunity, as Leonard Cohen used to say, that if there's a crack in the window, there's a light coming in, find the light. I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Right.
So change the conversation could be something as simple as, I see a way to add value to the company that wasn't part of my job or wasn't something I was asked to do, or there's a better way to have a team function, or there's that conversation. Could be almost anything. It doesn't have to be what you say. It could be what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you work for corporate America, you really get to understand that. Because I've been at corporate America,
yes,
dealing both as clients and as being an employee in a major thing.
Yep. I was working for a big business software company, and they were pitched to advertise for an internet business talk radio show. And in our introduction to the team, I had revealed that I had an internet radio talk show. This was 2011. And when my manager got the pitch, she knew nothing about what was involved in internet radio. And she came to me, to my real name, and she said, "Could you tell me what this is, and should we do it?" It was a lot of money for a 30-second ad and a banner. I gulped. I said, "Would you please give me a couple days?" She said, "Sure." I said, "I'll get back to you." I cold called, and we're on Voice America Radio right now. I cold called the owner and the president of Voice America. And I said, as the New York joke goes, you don't know me and I don't know you, but I have an idea for a business talk radio show. Would you work with me? The miracle was he picked up his phone, because he was a very busy guy and didn't often pick up his phone. And he said, heck yes. I went back to my manager and I said, give me 25% of what this other person is asking, and let me start a business thought leadership roundtable, non-advertising, non-selling, different type of conversation. She thought about it, talked to her colleagues around the world, gave me a little bit of money. We started October 5th, 2011. That was the day Steve Jobs passed away, which was 2 hours later. It was a day that changed in infamy, if you will, the future of Apple and all of us with what they had brought into our lives. The first show, my guests were around the world, different time zones, and two of them got the time zones mixed up and didn't show up. We were talking mobility, and I said to the first guest, this was before me too, so nobody's going to get offended. His name was Dan. I said, Dan, honey, we're just going to talk for an hour. He said, okay, honey, I'll do it. I'm with you. We talked. I never went back and listened. Second week, third week, the guest showed up. Fourth week, my manager called me and she said, I love it. Go big. I funded you for 1 year. All over the company, people wanted to do what I was doing. They called me. We want a show. I grew one show into 48 series over the next 9 years. It was not my job, Jim. It was not my job.
Terrific.
I changed the conversation. But my point to your quote is that I got a call the next year. I was doing 4 shows the next year. Eventually, I was doing 18 shows at the same time, 6 hours. And eventually, it was my full-time job. Somebody found a head count and let me do it. But I was doing this in addition to what they're paying me for. Okay. So somebody called me and they said, you know what? We're using your shows to train our sales teams in how to have a conversation without a dollar sign attached to it. They don't know how to talk to people, people to people, relationships, conversations. My shows were being used as training material, which was so change the conversation. I had to share that with you, Jim, and I think you could all appreciate that. So that's part of how I got into a business radio many 55 series later. Anyway, let's go to our creativity statements. I just shared one of mine. Dave Finnigan, I'm going to read your statement number 1. I'd like you to take about 3 minutes and just expand it for us. And we know about your green actioneers. We're not going to talk about that anymore, but I want this to be about your life and your creativity, the core of Dave Finnigan. You say, I set my life up from the start. So I've always been in my ikigai, I-K-I-G-A-I. That's a Japanese term meaning what you love, your passion, what the world needs, your mission. Asher's loving this. What you're good at, your vocation, and what you get paid for, your profession. It's a concept that encourages people to discover what truly matters to them and to live a life filled with purpose, joy, and creativity. Dave, this is huge, but I'm giving you 3 minutes to explain. Go ahead, Dave, please.
Well, I never have had a job, J-O-B job. I've never worked for anybody else. Well, I was in the Army for 5 years during the Vietnam War, but we'll forget about that. And instead, I just think of something that the world needs that I can do. Well, at the point that I started my juggling career, I didn't know how to juggle. I was walking across the campus at the University of Washington and I saw a guy juggling and I said, can you teach me how to do that? And he said, I'm not allowed to teach. And I said, what? He said, yeah, I was taught by a magician and he told me I must never teach anybody how to do it unless they pay me a lot of money. So I watched him for a while and I went, this is nuts. I know what you're doing. You're making infinity signs in the air over and over again. And then you're just putting more objects on that infinity sign. And he said, don't tell anybody. And I said, no, I'm going to tell everybody. So the next thing I did was I got an illustrator and we created a book, The Joy of Juggling. And this is before the internet existed. And we sold this little book all over the United States. And then I took it to the Frankfurt Book Fair in Frankfurt, Germany, and that's where people sell the rights to books. So I got a booth in the Frankfurt Book Fair. I think I paid $4,000 for it. That's expensive back then.
Yes.
I sold the rights in German, French, Italian, Dutch, Spanish, and Portuguese. So,
and he remembers all 7 languages. That's important.
7 million copies of the book.
Dave, beautiful. And did I pronounce it right? Ikigai? Is that pronounced?
Ikigai, yeah.
Thank you. I want to use that. I want to use that word. I think Jim and Asher were appreciating that. Asher, I'm going to go to your statement number 4. You've already talked a little bit about your joy jar and your sound bath. So you say, I created the idea of incorporated guided visualization exercises into joy parties to create joy by helping the participants imagine, there's that word, Dave, imagine positive outcomes, dream big, and cultivate a sense of hope and possibility, enhancing their overall well-being and happiness. Asher, could you unpack this for us a little bit, please, for 3 minutes?
Absolutely. Thank you. So we tend to focus a lot on our past, but not so much on our presence or on our future, right? And so, really, to access the joy within us, it's about focusing on the present and then being able to create the kind of future that we want. And to not take what is from the past and project that past that might be negative or, mixed onto the future. So what I encourage people to do is to imagine as much joy as you possibly can in the present. And then think about the future. And as opposed to thinking about all of the negative things that could possibly happen to you, which I think is kind of how we're programmed to think about things, think about every possible dream that you could ever imagine coming true. Think about having the
Hmm.
spouse or the partner that you want. Think about having the house that you want, having the dream job, the dream car, the dream pet, every single possibility that you could ever imagine in your life and create that. And then put that into action every single day, just through writing it down. You can put it like little post-its up throughout your house. Like I have post-its on my mirror, so I see it when I'm getting ready in the morning and when I'm brushing my teeth at night and throughout the day. And just so that you are stepping into the positive and not projecting the negative.
Asher, that's lovely. Is this part of the law of attraction? Is that the same thing or is this slightly different?
It's derived from the law of attraction. It is. And this is really teaching people how to draw on that law of attraction and then create that positive life. But it is derived from that.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Very interesting. I'm going to go to Jim. Jim, I'm picking your statement number 4. This is interesting. Jim says, I'm very good about reading something I have written and saying, that's really crap on a platter. Throw it out. It's not that I'm hypercritical of myself. I'm realistic enough to not fall in love with my own words. And I have learned to judge myself. And then I can tell myself, I'll do better the next time. Wow, Jim. Can you open this up for us a little bit? I like this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's very important to not fall in love with everything you do. And yes, I am a writer. I am a quote creative person. And I besides being creative, besides writing books, I tried to be a creative parent. I tried to be a creative friend. This last Sunday was my 89th birthday. And in church, I stood up and said, proving that I have no humility or shame, I'm going to sing a solo. I was backed up by the choir and I sang, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love,
Oh,
which
how
Burt Bacharach
beautiful.
wrote in 1965, Dave, in reaction to America's down feeling about the Vietnam War. It was
Jim, I
very,
just gave you fireworks. Can you see them? There they are.
yes, dear.
There are the
Thank you
fireworks
very
for you.
much.
Okay,
At any
that's
rate,
magic.
besides what you mentioned, one of my great feelings about being creative is you need courage, because when you do
Mhm.
something creative, whether you're writing, painting, composing, building, designing, or teaching juggling, somebody out there is going to say, that's absolute crap. And I hate that. But you have to do it and you have to believe in it enough to do it. Besides all that, I have another, it really sounds a little dreamy, a little woohoo-ish, but I really believe it very strongly. My mother taught me years ago, she said, you have a choice. Every morning you're going to have to confront your biggest critic every single morning. It's that person in your bathroom mirror. And you can either go, good God, another day, or smile bravely and cheerfully and say, good God, another day. Another day, which is a gift. It's another opportunity to see, hear, taste, touch, share, embrace, love. And I do feel that way. And I really try to push that on people, get them to understand that there are no guarantees you're going to wake up on the right side of the grass tomorrow. So that if you do, you say, hot damn, isn't that wonderful? So my newest book coming out is called Loving Longevity. And the subtitle is I'm 89 and have a 10-year plan, because I do. I'm
I
much
love
too
it.
busy. Well, Red knows from our first interview, I said, George Burns, whom we all love, was asked on his 95th birthday. A reporter said, Mr. Burns, did you ever worry about dying? He said, I can't die now. I'm booked. Well, so am I. I'm booked.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
I think Jimmy Carter just had his 100th yesterday or the day before. So there you go. And I told you my mom lived to 100 years, 1 month, and
Yeah,
15 days on her own terms in her own apartment,
love
doing
it.
everything she loved. And I don't know how she did it, but she did it. I wanted to read one more statement from Jim. I think, Jim, we're just going to really tackle this quickly because I have a lot more to do. You
Yes,
say,
ma'am.
when I write fiction, I enter their world. I wear their clothes. They sit at my table. We argue. We may consider sex, but then laugh about it. We suffer loss and we suffer triumph together. And when I was learning improv in New York, I had my own comedy troupe and I did comedy shows around Long Island
Art.
bookstores and libraries. It was a lot of fun. I had my own TV show called What's So Funny. It was really fun. I invited all my improv friends from Manhattan and comedians, and we just had a
Wow.
blast. Anyway, um, we were told by one of the improv teachers, your characters you're creating, and this would go for anything you're doing in creating characters, Jim, in fiction. Who are they? Where were they born? What do they eat for breakfast? What kind of shoes did they wear? Where did they go to school? How did they get their news? What did they like to do for a hobby? How did they spend their vacations? What's their favorite song? What are their eye colors? What did their nickname when they were growing up? Not become that person, but get to know that person. And I participated, I didn't participate, I attended a writing workshop for bold writers. I've written a novel that it's been sitting for 6 months and I can't quite finish it. And I attended this workshop, and they were talking about interiority for your characters is what's the character's voice? Who are they? Get to know them. How do they speak? How would they see the world? How would they see the little character sitting behind Asher's left shoulder? How would they see the cover of the book behind Jim? How would they see the green actions board behind Dave? What would their response be? Not what do you see, but how would they? And I liked your statement, Jim, because get to know them. That's how we create our characters, right? And when I wrote a
That's right.
romantic comedy play years ago, I wrote it in 3 nights from 1 to 4 in the morning. And we produced it in my TV studio. I did it twice and I loved it.
Oh,
The
that's great.
characters talked to me. They came to me. They said, this is what I'm saying to her, to him. This is what is on my mind. This is how I'm sad. This is how I'm proud. This is how I'm happy. This is how I'm going to cry. This is how I'm angry. They told me, the characters were right here and
Yeah.
they told
Oh,
me
yeah.
what to say. And I was just the channel. Go ahead, Jim, quickly. Go ahead.
They make me throw out things I've written. I've had characters say to me, "That's absolute BS, Flaherty. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I'm sorry, but I thought I really felt that because you're really a royal. Never mind what I could tell her." Then I would go back and say, "Okay, you're right. You're right. You would not do that." And
There
so
you
we
go.
would do it.
I have a couple of creativity quotes. Thank you to the three of you for bringing me such interesting statements, and thank you for covering them when you were talking about what you do, and that was lovely. Rapunzel in the movie Tangled, which was a 2010 American 3D computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film. I think they ran out of genres there. Voiced by Mandy Moore, made the following statement: "Venture outside your comfort zone. The
Mhm.
rewards are worth it." We all agree with that one. And of course, Glinda the Good Witch of the North, played by Billy Burke in the 1939 classic fantasy, The Wizard of Oz. You had the power all along, my dear. There you go. And the Rolling Stones 1969 song said, you can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you'll get what you need. There you go. I
Right.
keep these quotes around. I have a couple of music events today. It's the 30th of September. Would you believe Johnny Mathis was born today in 1935? You know, he was going to be an Olympic, I think either a runner or a baseball player, and he decided to go into music. Duh. And
He's
I was
my
asked,
age. Jesus.
1935, and I was asked to write about him I was a stringer reporter for the Improper magazine on Long Island. And I set up with his manager to have a phone conversation. I think this is before cell phones and all of that good stuff, or not too close to the start of that. And the phone rang at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was 6 o'clock in California. And a voice said to me, hello, this is John Mathis. is this and my real name? And I melted. I recorded it with his permission on two 45-minute cassette tapes, Dave. And I wrote the article. It was the back cover of the magazine. I got to meet him at the Westbury Music Fair and went backstage after, and I cried. And people were yelling from the audience, Johnny, we love you. We love you. It was that good. Jimmy Dean died on this day. James Dean in 1955 at 24 years old in a car accident. But the interesting thing was on that day, September 30th, 55, Pat Boone had a #1 hit, Ain't That a Shame? Ain't that a shame? Isn't that a strange coincidence? On this day in 57, the album Louis Armstrong Plays King Oliver was the first stereo album recorded in the United States. On this day in 65, Elvis Presley met Tom Jones for the first time. Talk about two guys swiveling their hips on the set of a Hawaiian-style movie, King's Paradise. On this day in 71, Isaac Hayes released the theme from Shaft. On this day in 88, John Lennon was awarded a posthumous star. Talk about John Lennon on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and apparently there's several of them at 1750 Vine Street. And I'll read one more. Liza Minnelli got her Walk of Fame, Hall of Fame star. Her mother had 3, Judy Garland, at 1991. I have so many more. Celebrities. Today is Barry Williams. Anybody remember Barry Williams? He was Greg Brady on the Grady Bunch. He's 70 today. Happy birthday. Fran Drescher, the nanny. Who doesn't love Fran Drescher? Okay. And she was on all kinds of shows. Happy birthday, Fran. I know she survived cancer. Christopher Jackson, you may not know him, but he performed George Washington in Hamilton on Broadway, and he played Chunk Palmer on the CBS courtroom drama Bull, and I loved him. He was an attorney going to law school and a fashionista, and he worked with Michael Weatherly, who was Bull. And Kieran Culkin, the brother of Macaulay, is 42 today. Have things changed? I have 3 quick celebrity birthdays for you. You've never heard of these people. Are you all sitting down? Dave, you sitting down? I don't want you to.
But that's okay.
I don't want you to get hurt here. And Jim and Asher. Okay, there's a gentleman who's 37 today named Steve Terraberry. He only has on YouTube 3.7 million subscribers. That's why we're saying happy birthday. He does, you ready for this, Jim? He does guitar song covers, comedy sketches, and videos about hidden messages in songs and misheard lyrics. His video, How to Play Guitar Like Lil Wayne, has 3 million total views. Happy birthday, Steve. Then we have a man on TikTok named Noel Dazel, Deyzel. He's 40. You ready for this? Are you ready for this? Dave, I don't want to shock you. He's got more than 7 million followers and 269 million likes. We're all in the wrong business, kids. He's a bodybuilder who posts fitness tips, workout routines, comedy videos, and people made fun of him. He was too tall and too skinny, and he decided to be a bodybuilder at 21. His first TikTok had 1,000 likes and 30,000 views. OMG. And on Instagram, it's a woman named Hansika Krishna. She's 19 today. Poor girl. She's starting out. Only 1.3 million followers. She does lifestyle and fashion and new outfits and her milestones in her life. Today is extra virgin olive oil day. I want you all to know that. It's a superfood. The Greeks were worshiping olives way back in the day. It's International Podcast Day. And I want you to know that this is not a podcast because I haven't pre-recorded it and it's not edited. This is a live simulcast, kids. So, no net. What can I tell you? This is also National Chewing Gum Day. And the earliest piece of chewing gum was found in 2007 in Finland. It was 5,000 years old, made of bark tar, and it still had teeth marks in it. I want you all to know. And chewing gum was commercialized in 1848 when John B. Curtis invented and sold it in the Maine Pure Spruce Gum Company. And John Colgan in the 1860s had the first flavored gum. It's National Hot Mulled Cider Day. It's Mud Pack Day. I want you all to know. And it's Pet Tricks Day. Dogs, cats, hamsters, and rabbits. And let's see. And I have to get started here. So I want you all, don't go away because I have some things to say to all of you. So I want to tell you that in 2014, I had a list of the top 10 tips for women at the end of my show, and I saved it in my notes. And the first tip still applies today. You ready? Well, this is mostly for when I have women on the show, but I think you'll get a kick out of it. Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. Okay, I want you all to know. And when life gives you lemons, make lemonade and add vodka. Okay, there we go. And every good-looking, sweet, sexy single man is someone else's ex-boyfriend. So here we go with my closing. Life is short. I'm going to ask you all to laugh with me in just a second. I really want you to do it. Life is short. And thank you to Michael, my engineer. Here we go. 1 minute. Life is short. Break the rules. Aren't we all doing that? Forgive quickly. Nah. Kiss slowly. Yeah. Love truly. Here we go. Laugh with me uncontrollably on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Michael, they're pretty good. You can write them down. And they're still Michael, number 1 on the laugh. And never, ever, ever regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money because nobody else really cares. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco in high heels on a Formica tabletop in a high school cafeteria before they gave me a stage, I never fell and everybody watched. What legs I had. Sing like nobody's listening. I tried. And love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Get over it. Let your heart reopen and find new love. Money talks, chocolate sings. And last but not least, I stole this line from a host years ago. Radio Red says, thank you for turning me on. Everybody wave goodbye. Don't go away. Michael, are we out?
We are out.
Okay, bye.